Hello and welcome back to the channel. We are here for the album review of Architects, The Classic Symptoms of a Broken Spirit, and we're going to start off with the very first song. And yes, I will be using my phone where I wrote down my notes. The first song that we're going to be talking about is Deep Fake. It was the second last single that they released. I love how it starts the album off with some kind of like loading theme, like a gaming kind of theme, like that little sample, that synth at the start. And then it just jumps straight into some like heavy guitar. Also got like a siren kind of sample going off in the background as well, alerting us to kind of, this is the new Architects album and this is how we're going to start it off. I love the pacing of the whole song. I love the whole dynamic between the singing and the screaming. I must admit that the lyrics where it says Ark and Sold, I always thought of it as Ark and Soul. I think that's from The Hobbit, I'm not too sure, but every time I listen to it, I just think of Ark and Soul all the time. We've got the singing, the screaming, we got the murmuring, we got the whispering, we got all of it. I love the chorus. It's very out there, very catchy, gets you hooked straight away. I really like the breakdown as well, where he just says the song title, Deep Fake, and then goes in and it's quite heavy. Then you got like the screaming in the background as well, just kind of adds a little bit more like layers to the song. Just overall solid song to like get the album started off with, and it's definitely kind of stands out to me as well. Maybe that's because it was a single, I'm not too sure, but yeah, 8 out of 10 for that one. The second song is Tear Gas, which is another single that they released early on before the album came out. When I first listened to it back then, I didn't really like it that much, but for some reason now, it's actually one of my favorite songs off of the album. I said in my previous reaction to it that it feels like it's kind of trying to get that Animals kind of vibe off of the For Those That Wish to Exist album. It kind of still gives me that, and maybe that's like the nostalgia from that album, which is why I like it so much. I said about like a siren sample in the previous one, but this one genuinely is a siren sample. I just love these like little synths that they keep adding to all these songs just to kind of give it its own character and personality. Got a very chuggy guitar riff, something you can get behind really easy. Great transitioning between the verses and the chorus. I love the do or die as well, they kind of say when it goes into the chorus. And as I was saying about the radar sounds, it also kind of like amplifies the whole breakdown as well. So when we get into the breakdown, hearing those radar sounds go off, it kind of gives us like an alertness to it. I gave that one a 9 out of 10. So now we come on to the first song I reacted to when the album was released, and that was Spit the Bone. When I listened to it in order of the album, it doesn't hit the same heights as what Tear Gas and Deep Fake did for me. I can't distinguish everything that well. Like every time we go from one section to the song to another, I feel like you have to count it when it says, and now we're all cannibals. When you hear that, you know you're going into a different part of the song. I did like the screaming when it came into it, and I also did like his famous bleh. For me, I felt like the first 2/3 of the song just didn't add much to the album, but then the last like bit of the song, like the third part, let's say, that's where everything actually started coming into it. But because of the rest of the song beforehand, I was like, I think I can't give this much more than like a 7 out of 10. Burn Down My House was a really, really interesting song to listen to. It had like a very somber feel to it, like a given up kind of sound. The chilling xylophone sounds as well through the transitions were really cool and creepy. And I really love how low the guitar tone was, and it was so slow that you could really listen out to the actual tone of the guitar, take it all in. Quite cinematic as well. You could easily visualize something to go along with that song. So I'm hoping maybe they might bring a music video out for this song. Not too sure, but I did actually really like the whole difference this band can kind of like give off. I just love how slow, how pacey it is, the reverb on the vocals. I gave this song an 8 out of 10. Living Is Killing Us, I gave this an 8 out of 10 as well. Straight away, we got this high energy feel. The guitar riff was like really kind of like crazy. We had like a nice little guitar squeal in there as well, just adding something that, you know, kind of like catches you out, catches you off guard. It is more singy. Like, we're starting to get just singing in this album now. We've had a couple of like areas where like it goes from singing to screaming, but now we're starting to just get, okay, we're just getting singing now. When are we gonna kind of like change it up again? I like how the chorus is set up vocally, like how they play on to the next line, builds up to the end of the chorus where we get the self or the song title, which is like Living Is Killing Us. And then when you heard it once, we hear it again, and it just adds like some more impact to it. It is definitely a headbanger, this song, and you kind of can carry it on when like the calmer parts, like in the verses, like you just constantly got some like energy towards it. I will say that the bridge comes out and it is quite heavy, and I was expecting it to kind of finally give us like a little bit of screaming, but it didn't. You don't always want the constant singing, screaming, blah, 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 blah. But yeah, for me, I felt like that was just like a perfect bit. Even if it could only be like 10 seconds or like one line, I don't know. I just think it would have added something to it. Now we go on to the first single release, which was When We Were Young. I really liked this song when it first came out, but I could definitely tell it was a different direction to what they'd done previously. I do like the beginning bit where like you have a bit of guitar and then it goes, oh, and they do that a couple of times throughout the song, and it is quite nice. It kind of like hits on like a different level for you, and it gets you ready. It like starts you off throughout the song. Chorus, very relatable. I'm definitely that generation at the moment. Like, you know, when we were young, we thought we had it all figured out, and now it's just like a total shit show. It's just depressing. The guitar progression throughout is really good. It's definitely got some heavy undertones, but it is just like an overall rock and roll kind of feeling song, which, you know, isn't a bad thing. Like, I'm just saying for like the theme of this song and even the theme of the album, it's definitely more rocky than kind of like metalcore. So that is a little bit different for me, but I actually quite like their rocky stuff as well. So yeah, I do quite like it. The bridge starts hyping up the song to be something like of a heavyish kind of breakdown, and you're about to get the breakdown, but then I feel like it just stops and then just carries on into like a bridge, but like it doesn't really offer much. It's just kind of the same old, oh, I was expecting something else there, or something a little bit more impactful. If this wasn't a single, maybe it would have been a filler song. I'm not too sure. Because of the chorus sounding so relatable and catchy and like the hook, it stands out to me a little bit there. I gave this a 7 out of 10. Talking about filler songs, I do believe that Doom Scrolling is a filler song. It's catchy, it has a bop to it. There's nothing wrong with the song really, but I feel like the whole song is made up of 2 parts and they just kind of like intertwine, going in and out of each other. It was getting a bit confusing, what's the chorus and what's not the chorus. That's the bridge, but we heard the bridge there. Oh, the bridge kind of goes into one thing and then I think it's about to go into something else, but then we just hear the bridge again, but just with more in it. It was just very confusing for me. It's just definitely a song that I'm just like, okay, cool, yeah, it sounds good to the ear, but that's about it. I do like the part where it asks if we're the arrow or the bow, and like the kind of build up into the chorus. Like, I like that, but it just didn't really amount to anything stand out to me. For that one, which you might think is a bit harsh, I gave it a 6 out of 10. Born Again Pessimist came in with such great energy, great heaviness. It feels very raw, it feels very personal, it feels like it's got like a message to kind of come across with. We get to near the end and then suddenly we get some like heavy screaming out of nowhere. It's like, oh wow, I wasn't expecting to have this. Just like a little fraction of the song, added a little bit, then reverted back. It did then use the heaviness or the heavy instruments as an outro, but they didn't go back to the screaming there. They didn't resort back to that. I gave that one an 8 out of 10. A New Moral Low Ground was the last single that they released. This was probably one of my favorite singles that came out at the time. Obviously, like Tear Gas, I got a massive appreciation for now. A New Moral Low Ground was definitely something that got me really hyped for the album. I love that once again, yes, we're going back into the whole singing and screaming kind of vibe, but you start off quite calmly with the singing, and then out of nowhere, you've got some screaming coming into it, and then it goes into like a very nice, catchy, clean chorus that I only just caught that it's kind of like counting throughout the whole chorus. 1 death for your enemies, 2 steps from your sanity. Almost like a check off as well. You're listening to it and you can kind of like almost check it off, like 1 of these, 2 of these, 3 of these. And then out of nowhere, instead of a bridge, instead of a breakdown, we get a guitar solo. It was so clean, it was so good, and it was such a nice surprise. Kind of like, oh, a bit of a throwback, I like this. So yeah, I gave that a 9 out of 10. All the love in the world, once again starting off with some kind of like gaming kind of like sounds and effects and samples. All the other instruments come in. It's just a hype song throughout. Like, I love listening to the song in the gym. I feel like as well, every single time the chorus plays, it gets a little bit more explosive, a little bit more enriched. Definitely a song to like listen to live. It's definitely a song to sing along to live. It's got that power stadium kind of feel to it, like ramping up the atmosphere at an already probably fucking sick show. So yeah, 8 out of 10 for that. And then finally, the last song, but definitely not least, and I can definitely say that they left the best till last, and that was Be Very Afraid. It feels like post or pre For Those That Wish to Exist era, just kind of like A New Moral Low Ground in some parts, but this song as entirety, it came way before that, which is good because it stops you from comparing it constantly to For Those That Wish to Exist. It makes you compare to like previous like albums before then, and it also gives you a sense of like how diverse this band is and that they can just kind of like go back to their roots. They haven't completely changed their sound. They've just like evolved it and like expanded on it. I love the Be Very Afraid bit where like they add like the duplicate or they add another set of vocals over it, but a lot lower, a lot growlier, a lot more brutal. Just kind of like adds to like the effect of like the whole song. Like, oh, they are really going all out for this. I love how they scream, you know, Spirit. It's almost like it's his like last breath. I love that kind of sense of rawness and sense of like character and personality to it. The ending is really cool as well because I love how it goes from this craziness then suddenly to this like just birds tweeting in the background. Sam had added that in because that's what he was listening to through the recording process. So I think that's like a really cool little Easter egg. But yeah, I gave this song a 9 out of 10. That's all the scores. So if you add them all up, can't remember the actual score, but I do know when you work out as a percentage, it works out about 79% out of 100. Just an under 8 out of 10, which I think is quite fair. This album is definitely like a different direction the band's gone in, yet it does still keep some of the elements that have made them known for who they are. Let me know what you thought about my scores. Let me know what you thought about this songs. Where does this album correlate between all the other Architects albums that they've released? Thank you very much for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe. I'll see you real soon. See you later. So it's like, one death for your enemies, 2 steps from your sanity.